Welcome to episode 7 of Timeout with Quanty and Mike. On this episode, we got my boy Eric with me. Eric is one of my
What up?
Eric is one of my groomsmen for my wedding, 2020.
Our wedding.
2021. We haven't did our podcast in a little bit. We've been hosting family and just what's going on in the world right now just made it tough for us to just come here and just talk about life like everything was good. So we just want to take some little time, get some perspective, and then come back to you guys. So without further ado, we got Eric here. Like I said, Eric, just give them a little background about you so we can start the show.
All right, so my name is Eric, and right now I am getting a doctorate in pharmacy. So I'm in my second year. I'm about to start rotations after this summer. In my spare time, I like to rap. You know what I'm saying? Go follow me on IG at Eric_Abram369. You know what I'm saying? I'll be dropping some bars. I just dropped a nice little diss track to all the Karens out there. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? Go check it out. I got bars all day. Any of you rappers want smoke, I'm here for it. I'm here for it all summer. I'm here for it every day. We writing. We ready.
Rick, I know you listen to my podcast though. You know what I mean?
Podcast is dope. Definitely support the podcast. Black owned business. Mike is one of the entrepreneurs out here. He's been that way since day one. So I'm not wearing his shirt right now, but I wear his shirt probably like once a week because I fuck with that shirt heavy. You know what I'm saying?
But I did listen to the track before we came on. We probably will end up playing it before we leave, or I plug it in the audio. But let's just get right into it. I know you have FaceTime me as soon as the killing of George happened, so we can get on the line, but we couldn't make that happen. But just talk about, the current climate and how it's affecting you and everything in the Black community.
Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen, I haven't lived in a moment like this ever in my life. I've always kind of been conscious and woke, especially in my family and stuff. That's just the way we are. But I've never seen so many other people also start to be on this wave and to actually start to see like momentum where people are like really going hard. And because at first that's what I was worried about. When everything happened, I was worried that this was just going to be a trendy moment and that people were just going to use these protests as like a photo opportunity to get out there and say, hey, look, I care about Black lives and like my picture and all this other dumb shit, or like just do whatever is trendy is in. And then Instagram is going to go back to being the normal Instagram where everybody's superficial and nobody's really being real. So I'm happy to see that at least like 2-3 weeks into it, it's still going pretty strong. And I'm hoping that this momentum continues for like months to years, because that's honestly, we need a sustained movement in order for us to actually correct the things in our community. And same thing for white people. Like people say they need to fix racism and stuff, but everybody has to be holding each other accountable, So it's like, white people have to fix their own racism, just like Black people, we have to fix our own racism, because the racism on our end is internalized racism. We have internalized the beliefs of white superiority. We have internalized this belief that we're nothing but niggas, that we can't do anything constructive in the world except tear each other down and self-destruct and pop Xannies and kill each other and just do all this foolishness that we've been doing. So I'm happy to start seeing that people are holding each other accountable. And I'm hoping that like in the future, we could just start changing this shit one step at a time.
But one of the things that you were saying in when I was watching your IG was that not only should you be posting about the movement, but you should be, doing something to truly affect it, which is the economy. So your big thing was to start boycotting big businesses. So just talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely, because like if you just do a simple calculation, there's about roughly 40 million African Americans in this country. And that's roughly. There's probably more of us than that. We just don't realize. But if you take 40 million and you plug it in your calculator and you multiply that times $30,000, let's say the average Black person makes $30,000 a year, you end up with a calculation of $1.2 trillion. That is in itself, that is one of the top GDPs alone in the world. Like that's how powerful that dollar is. And then if you include brown people in that mixture, now you have like 2.4 to 3 trillion dollars in the world. And that is just as much as France as a country. All of France put together is equal to the black and brown dollar here in America. That's how powerful our dollar is. So if we simply just start shifting our money from big corporations into corporations that are black owned, immediately you're going to start to cause a huge shift in society, and we'll be able to insulate ourselves even more. Now, that's not going to cure racism, because I don't really care about curing racism. To me, that's not the fight. Like, that's a fight that people have to do in their households. You have to mentally reprogram yourself to not be racist. That is your personal struggle. That's like any personal psychological problems that we have. You have to go to a therapist and fix that. That's not my job to fix you. It's your job to fix you. But my job is to put this message out there about economic empowerment, because every dollar that you spend is literally a vote. Like, you are voting for this company, and most of these companies have not been doing anything for our community. They're just now saying, oh, we're going to put money towards racial inequality. What does that even mean? What, like, are you telling me this whole time money could have fixed racial inequality and you guys are just now doing it? It's bullshit. And it's probably just a tax write-off for you guys. So no, I'm not going to take any of that gas about you putting money towards racial inequality. Like, if you really want to fix the problem, all of you big banks and stuff like that, start giving out loans to black people who want to open businesses and shit like that. Give us loans that you're not going to try to fucking vulture us and like give us low APR rates. You know what I'm saying? Provide us with services that are going to help us build and develop our businesses and support our own community. Like, to me, if you're truly going to be an ally for black people helping themselves, you need to actually be an ally. Don't try to profit off of us. Like, actually try to be a part of the change. But these companies aren't doing that. They're just going to try to do things for public relations while actually not doing anything behind the scenes. So I think right now is the time that we start to open our eyes and really just see what the world is and actually start executing in a way that's going to help us for our future.
Yeah. It's interesting, like what you just said with the tax write-off. I don't think a lot of people, like our peers, don't really understand that. Like, when these companies are saying they're pledging $1 million or whatever, this is a tax write-off for them. It's not a big deal. You know, it's not a big thing that they're doing. So let's talk about Bank of America. So they pledged $1 billion to the cause. Now, $1 billion to the majority population sound like a lot, but Bank of America, their revenue just for 2019 so far is $91.2 billion. So if you think about it, it's not that much that they're doing. And it's like, why haven't you been doing this before the boycott started happening? Like, black inequality is not a new thing. It's not just George died and now it's like, it's been happening for years. And in order to stop these kind of things, I was watching CNN and this guy was on and he was talking about how, you know, we had the guy that died in New York, Eric Garner. He was selling Lucy. George, he died because of the $20. That's about like $40. Is their lives worth $40 that they had to die over? It really doesn't make sense. So when you start empowering the black community with money, and we actually have money in our pocket, $40, we're gonna have that in our pocket. So we're not gonna risk our life dying because we're gonna give you a fake $20, which it turned out the 20 wasn't even fake.
And I mean, like, all of that is just excuses. Like, we've been through this time and time again, and it's not a new idea for us economically empowering ourselves. It happened as soon as slavery ended, because when slavery was occurring, not all black people were fucking slaves. There was plenty of free black people who were educated and who understood and had been studying the system and were ready for that moment. So when slavery officially ended legally, there was tons of black people who were like, all right, well, let's get this started. Let's get up and get our school started. Let's get this. That's why Black Wall Street and all these the Reconstruction era was a real thing where black people were starting to do for themselves. However, poor white people get upset at that because they're like, how is this nigga up here doing shit for himself and I can't even get a job and feed my family? So all of that anger they organized it, and that's what led to the rising of the KKK and all of these other racial organizations and shit like that. And in those organizations were police chiefs, police deputies, politicians, and that's why they all would cover up their faces with masks so you couldn't identify them. And they would go through and they would rain terror. They would literally terrorize our communities, and they would literally kill our business leaders and send a message to everybody else that, yo, this America is not for you. I don't care what the law says. Like, we not going to ride for this. And all these same people who fought and legally tried to change the system, guess what? They didn't send any help for us. There was no National Guard there to enforce the law as they had put it into play. They just let us die. You know what I'm saying? So as a result, some black people they're going to be like, yo, I don't want those problems. So no, I don't want to be a business leader, because what happened to my father or what happened to my uncle or my grandfather, I don't want that happening to me. I don't want to die. And that has happened time and time again. That is the idea of oppression. They have been putting that pressure on us all the damn time. So every single time there's these bursts of black creativity that's just been sitting there latent. There's been so much potential in our community all of the time, but we need moments like these where all of a sudden we recognize, okay, now is our time to push. And then everybody starts pushing. And then all of a sudden you start seeing all this black brilliance. Like, damn, where the fuck y'all been at? Like, yeah, nigga, we been here, but y'all niggas is racist.
Like, notice what we had to offer. But do you think that, black creativity, black businesses are suppressed by even our own community, or is it
Absolutely. It's like the nature of oppression is not just on the outside, it's on the inside. Like, propaganda is a real thing. And that's why, like, I got bars coming for the rap industry too. For all you fake rappers out there promoting this negative lifestyle, I got bars coming for y'all too. Don't think it's only Karens that's getting it. Everybody has to be held accountable. But the propaganda that they have given to us from day one has always been, don't trust black people, they're criminals. So even in the early, when cinema first became a real thing, and we've all seen the movie 13th, they painted our picture as criminals. Like, they had white men in blackface, and we were always doing some criminal activity or trying to rape their women, or like, that was the image that was solidified in white people's minds. And then if they didn't go into this, but if you look at it, the rise of gangster rap in the 90s and 80s, the majority of hip hop is consumed by white kids. So of course, the gangster rap image is going to be palatable to the white minds, because they have been conditioned to believe that we are criminals all along. So when we start rapping about criminal activity, they're like, oh shit, I believe in that. I've always heard you guys were criminals. This makes sense. I support this. I want to hear more of this. So they start feeding into it, and then rap becomes this multi-billion-dollar industry because of the money of white kids supporting this shit. And then as a result, it reinforces this negative stereotype that our young men now have about ourselves. So we grow up thinking, oh shit, in order for me to be seen as a real man, as a real nigga, I gotta be a criminal. I gotta act this way. I gotta talk to women this kind of way. I gotta live this kind of lifestyle. And it reinforces this negative mindset. But that's the internalized racism on our end. Like, that's the stuff that we have to root out and we have to hold accountable in our own community, is the fact that this white superiority thing is not just outside of us, it's inside of us. So what are we going to do to fix that? How are we going to boost our self-esteem and remind us how great we are, and that anything we put our mind to, we can do it. We don't need to be in the streets. We could dominate business just the same way we dominate sports and athletics and the arts, the creative arts. They have let us thrive in that area because that part is just undeniable, and they don't mind us entertaining them, because even then they still have power, because as entertainers, we're still workers. We're working for a bigger company. We're working for the music industry, right? There's very few of us who actually have a stake of ownership in that. And that's why those people are billionaires, right? The Jay-Z's and the Dr. Dre's, the people who actually understood, okay, I have to have a stake in this. They became billionaires, but that's how powerful that is. All of us could be billionaires. Like that is achievable for us. They are now some people are now on the precipice of approaching trillionaires. Like, so billionaire is going to become like what we think of millionaires now. That's going to be billionaires in the future. Like there's going to be so many people who are billionaires. The same way right now there's so many people who are millionaires. So we got to hop on this wave and start understanding intellectual property and understanding how to run our business and start understanding that not everybody has to be a fucking rapper. And I say that because I rap, but I'm nice at it. Like some of y'all are garbage. Like it is not needed. You do not need to be doing this lifestyle. But guess what? There's probably something else that you're a genius at that I suck at. You know what I'm saying? There is some type of creative genius. You might have the necessary creative genius to run the new Walmart, the black owned Walmart. You know what I mean? Like, or you might be the best lawyer or something like that in the world. Not everybody has to be in rap or in basketball, football, or like doing some kind of entertainment stuff. Like there is so much other stuff you can do in the world that has nothing to do with entertainment.
The thing that you said early though is like we have to look at what we're inspired by, right? Like we're inspired by rappers, we're inspired by athletes, we're inspired by people that we see in the media. Our fantasy is to be famous and successful, right? So we're trying to do the same thing that they did to get there. And everybody doesn't have the talent to rap and then even when they do rap, you're rapping about stuff that you don't have. It's not conscious rap. Like you're not giving any message to the community. You're actually like hurting not only yourself, but the community, because you're like, they're rapping about that stuff, but most times they don't own those cars. They don't own those properties. And it's so important, like you said, that we have to have ownership because that's the real key to wealth. That's the real key to generational wealth. We have to really start changing our mindset and start realizing that we could really be doctors, we could be lawyers, business owners, entrepreneurs, that this rap thing it's not real. Like, you know what I mean? Like everybody can't make it as a rapper. Everybody can't make it as an entertainer, but we can make it as a business owner. You can make it as an entrepreneur or whatever else that you have to find your niche.
Absolutely. Because even outside of rap, like I said, I'm in pharmacy school. I'm 2 years into pharmacy school. So and I am the only black male in my class. Like I am the only African-American male in my class. In fact, I'm the only African-American male on the campus. Like there's other black males, but they're not necessarily African-American and they don't necessarily identify as African-American, so that's another conversation. But like, there is so many opportunities there for us, because when I look around my class, and that's no offense to anybody that I go to school with, but I know people who are from my neighborhood who are just as smart as anybody else in this class. Like we are not dumber in any way, shape, or form than anybody else who is in this class. The only thing that separates them is they're putting in the hard work to study. Right? Some of these kids are coming from a different country and English is not even their first language. Like that's how dedicated they are to learning, like understanding science. And I'm talking doctoral level science. Like you guys have taken science classes. Some of this shit be hard as fuck. It's like a whole new language, and they're coming from a different country. But the difference with them is the mindset. They're coming here like, I'm taking advantage of an opportunity. I'm going to take advantage of this shit and I'm going to own this shit. And I'm like, if we have that same mindset, the world is literally our oyster. Like we can do whatever we want to do, but it's not going to come easy. And people keep thinking that there's an easy route to this. There is no easy route to it. I'm sorry. You just have to put in the work and the time.
I don't even believe in somebody actually being smart. Like now that I'm thinking about it, there's no such thing as somebody that's smarter than you. It's just the fact that they took enough time to educate themselves on whatever subject that they're passionate about, and that they're knowledgeable about a lot of information because they took time to study it. It's not somebody smart. It's not like you come out the womb knowing all this stuff. It's just that you're putting time and energy into dedicating your time to find useful information to accelerate your growth. So if you're just sitting your ass around listening to music that you can't relate to and stuff like that, that's what you're influenced by, and that's really not helping your trajectory into wherever you'll be going. So that's a great point. But absolutely. I'm going to talk about, so we can get her in the conversation, corporate America. So she's in HR. She works in corporate America, and after all this protest is happening, it's been weird for our white coworkers, and it's just like they want us to educate them on how they should feel. And it's like you educate yourself on a lot of different things, and it's not our job as a black person to educate you on how to feel as a white person. Like you have to
Right.
understand privilege and use that privilege to combat racism.
Right.
So I just want you to talk about the corporate world, and you're probably the only black person in your office, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I'm the only black woman in HR.
Mm.
And it's like, I mean, there's two other white people, and it's one, she's technically Asian. So yeah, I'm like the only black person in the office, and it's like, it's difficult. Like, it's like, I can't really relate to them. They can't really relate to me. And it's like, some topics we can't even talk about, like, talking about, like, even talking about a show, like, they'll be nervous to say, oh, the black person in the show, like, because I'm black.
Yeah.
So it's just like, things like that you have to deal with in the corporate world.
White people don't really understand how privileged they are. It's as a black person, you have to really suppress who you are so that you don't offend them.
Yeah.
And I was saying that like the small things that they don't realize how hurtful it could be. Like I live in a really nice place. When I come in this gated community, I have to turn down the volume of my music because I don't want to come in here and look at this black kid just blast the music. I see white people doing that shit all the time, but as a black person, you're like subconsciously like you don't want them to have that image of you. You have to watch what you say, watch how you act. You're like, it's just the things that we have to go through. They can never understand it. Like it's just small things like that. Your haircut, everything, because they could judge you just like that. But like at work, I'm always dressed to impress all the time. Then I could see my white coworkers, they might wear the same shirt twice in a day. There's nothing wrong with that. But as a black person, I'm like I just have to be sharp. I have to be educated because I'm not gonna be given a second chance like you are. You know what I mean? I have the highest degree in that office, including my manager. It had to take me that just to get my foot in the door. And it's just white privilege. They don't really understand. It's not the big things. You know what I mean? It's just the little things that's affecting the black community and really suppressing us every day.
How do you think that other people who are in kind of that corporate workplace, how should they deal with that?
You have to see race. I hate when people say they don't see race. Like I hate going to the meetings and I'm literally the only black financial advisor in that meeting. Like it doesn't make sense. Like I'm the only financial rep in the whole, there's 30 of us in this room. I'm the only black person. Like and you're talking about you don't see race. You have to see race because like you have to give black people a chance to succeed in the corporate world. Like even when they go, she got me watching Insecure, right? So I started watching it. I'm on, I think it was season 1, but it was an episode where they hired another black person in the office. So there's 2 black people in the office, and the new character that's in it, she's like talking loudly, she's like expressive, and Molly, she brought her to her office, asked her how she's doing, and she told her in order to succeed, you have to tone it down. What that means is like you have to tone down who you are as a black person. You have to watch what hairstyle you do. You have to watch how you talk. You have to be like, you have to tiptoe. And she said like, I'm not gonna do that, And at the end, she still had to have a sit down with all the partners because they didn't like the way that she was moving. And that little small thing, which is huge for us, is something a white person sometimes necessarily doesn't see or understand how tough it can be just to be a black person every day in America.
Right. Yeah. Do you think that these companies would benefit from like at my school, one of the faculty members that we have there, they do what's it called? Structural racism training, where he comes to the class and he'll have a lecture where he teaches. It hasn't really been happening in our pharmacy program, but he does it a lot with osteopathic medicine students. And he basically just trains them on what structural racism is and how it's manifested like in the healthcare system, right? So like this idea of many doctors still hold this belief that black people have a higher pain tolerance than other people. So you'll see black people get less morphine or less painkillers when they're dealing. It could be the same injury, but they're going to give less morphine to the black person because they believe that they're not in as much pain as a white person. And there's still even beliefs that, oh, our skin is thicker than other, like, and these are trained doctors. These are physicians. These are people who have studied. Like
You got her wisdom pulled out, and the doctor literally said, like, she's in good shape because as a black person, our jaw is constructed differently, so we could recover a lot quicker. And I just sat there. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like, how you really sitting here saying like her jaw is constructed differently because she's black?
I would like to see like the research on that, because I've never personally heard that. That's
Bro, it's just that I guess we're able to take pain a lot better, maybe, or she's just a strong person in general. But for you to just sit there and be like, oh, because she's black, her jaw is fine. Right. So you don't need to give her more medicine. And I sat there, I'm like, wow, this lady is so racist right now. But I just was like, all right, and then we just walked off after that. But even at a level like that, you would think that somebody would be educated and thoughtful about what they say. But even at that level, it's still tough,
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. See, it's always a tough conversation, because it's like, okay, even like my professor who does those trainings, to me, it just ends up being the students who aren't racist are kind of leading the charge and kind of doing everything. But the people who are racist or closet racist and secretly racist, they just look at it as a chore, as something that they just have to get through. Like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till this fucking class is over. I do not give a shit about anything this dude is talking about. So it just ends up being a waste of time. And to me, that's why I'm just like, I don't feel like we should be focused on fixing these people. Like, to me, that's just futile. Because it's so defeating, because it's like you're sitting around waiting for somebody else to change on your behalf. It doesn't make sense. Like, no, forget trying to change them. That's not our job. Our job is not to change them. Our job is to start creating opportunities for our own people, right? So that we can open our own corporations and we can create an environment that is welcoming for everybody, right? Whether we want black people or white people or brown people, whoever we want to work for us, we can create an environment that has the necessary cultural sensitivities and allowing people to be who they are. And I think that would create a great workplace and a great company. And whatever you white people that has been working for you, you guys keep doing it. But we going to be over here doing what we do. You know what I'm saying? Because we got trillions of dollars to work with too. And if we start insulating that and knowing how poppin' we are, we can make this shit so poppin'. We do everything cool. Like, I just really believe in us. So I'm like, yo, once we get in that mind state, which I see it kind of blossoming now, I'm like, yo, we could actually make some real change in here. And that's the exciting part.
Look at Kanye. Look, Kanye with his partnership with Adidas, like that. He's a billionaire right now because of what he did with that brand. Now imagine he took that same brand and he just made it his own, and he had 100% stake in that company. I mean, he talked about it, saying he doesn't have the resource, but we're so brainwashed that we need to see a Adidas logo as well as Kanye to buy it. We won't just buy it if it's just Kanye. I mean, people might still buy it, but I don't think it'll be $1 billion sneaker that it is now without that same push from Adidas or from a Nike or from whoever. So.
But even people like Master P, he's been on the independent grind for a long time. So he'd be selling like the Munyatis and stuff. I don't really know anybody who has them, but like, to me, that's the mindset that we all need to have. Like, he's going straight to the source. Like, he's cutting out the middleman, and he's been doing that from day one. And he's been able to like really insulate his money. So now he's like, he has complete ownership of almost everything he does. So I'm like, yo, like, it's great that Kanye is doing what he's doing. And the beautiful thing is that life is a long life. So when he's out of that contract with Adidas, I'm pretty sure he has generated enough of a foothold in the culture and in the community to start doing it on his own. But I think when I heard him rant before, his problem is always finding the manufacturers and stuff like that. Like just for the deals that you have to make with the manufacturing companies and the textile companies in order to create the product is usually the hard part. So it's like, and even then, like the sad part is that the white superiority complex wants to get in the way of that. They don't want us to be independent, because I remember reading this, Jay Prince, who's like, he owns like Rap-A-Lot Records. I believe him and Suge Knight and the dude who runs Murder Inc. They all wanted to come together to form a black-owned publishing company, right? So like for artists, whenever you're like you want to own your publishing, you have to have a deal. Well, they say you have to have a deal with a publishing company. So they wanted to form a black-owned publishing company. And as soon as they came together and started having talks with that, all of a sudden, just miraculously, everybody started getting locked up, or like they started getting audited, or the Fed started interrupting some stuff. And then like their little partnership that they were trying to form got messed up. So they were never able to actualize it. So I'm like, yo, to a certain extent, yes, I'm glad we live in the society we live in now, because we can start recording this stuff and start exposing shit like this. Because before we couldn't expose it. It would just happen in the dark. Nobody knew about it. People would be like, whatever, you black people were probably up to no good anyways. But now we can start exposing that stuff. So I'm like, yo, like, it's just so difficult, because I'm like, man, the racism, we do have to hold them accountable, but at the same time, it's like they have so much power, so it's like, fuck. But I don't know. I'm still excited about where we're at, because we could change a lot of this.
People don't understand, like, this racism, it's been happening for centuries, right? So like the way it works, like we were enslaved, we helped these white people build generational wealth, because we were enslaved and we didn't get payment, to whatever they had us doing. They didn't get paid for that. And then after they were free, we didn't have the opportunity to build generational wealth. You know what I mean? Like, this is probably the first generation, maybe not, but that we're actually, making money and have something to pass down to our kids. Like, I was reading a statistic. It said Black family, their net worth might be like 17,000, while a white might be like 130,000. You know what I mean? It's like, we were never given reparation for the fact that we were slaves for years, and we didn't have the opportunity to build generational wealth and to build Black businesses everywhere. And even the Jews, for the Holocaust, they got reparation for that. And as a Black person in this country, we were never given reparation for that and given an opportunity to grow. Right.
And for a lot of us, it is our first time for a lot of things. Like, I know my dad, he just got a GED. Like, he dropped out of high school and then went back and got his GED. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like, and now I'm at the level where I'm getting a doctorate degree, like not just even like, I already went to 4 years of college and now I'm working on a doctorate. So it's like, this is a first generation on my dad's lineage. This is a first generation kind of thing for us as African Americans. And for a lot of people, it's the same way. So it's like now, and the great thing again is our access to communication, that now we can learn information at such a rapid rate. Like, we don't even have to go to the library and look up books. Like, we could literally just Google our question, and so many articles and blogs and sources are going to pop up to educate us about how we can, invest or how we can start a company or start a nonprofit. So I'm like, it's an exciting time, but it's definitely going to be an uphill battle. Like, it's as exciting as it is, we're still going to have to deal with racism our entire life, and probably when we have kids and they have kids, like, it's going to be an ongoing thing.
Let's go back to what you just said, because that was really important. We have to really start understanding what information we should be taking in, and that we should be liking, and that we should be using for our advantage. So like you said this before on your Instagram, but if I were to do a video, which I did tons on investing, building wealth, credit score, blah, 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 anything like that, you might get like 100 views, couple, a couple DMs about how to do it, then you can do a stupid ass video of just being funny, and you'll generate thousands of likes, thousands of
Yo,
comments, and it never makes sense to me. I was like, you rather, feed into this bullshit, and rather than me giving you a whole, toolkit on how to build your brand, how to be financially independent, how to build your credit score so that you're in a position to buy
right,
a house one day, to get the car that you want. Like,
right.
you have to really understand, like, everything that it can't be entertaining. Everything can't be entertaining. Like, you have to really shift your mindset and understand what's really useful for you, for your growth, versus what's really stunting your growth.
Yeah, that's all the way facts. Like the Karen video that I posted today, it's only been posted for a little over an hour, and it already has 150 views, versus my other videos that I put up where I'm talking about like black empowerment and shit like that. It'll take like 24 hours for me to get to 250 or 200.
Yeah. They're like, oh, we
Like,
don't want to hear that shit. We don't want to hear that.
yeah, nobody want to hear that shit. But if you have something funny to say, something entertaining, then everybody gravitate towards it. Like, yeah, this is what I want to hear. I want to hear some dumb shit that's not going to help me at all. it's like okay.
We were talking about that earlier because we was talking about monetizing our social media for that. But I was telling her, I'm like, yo, I can give them a lot of keys and gems on how to be successful, but that's not really attractive to a lot of people. They just want to hear the BS. And sometimes people are even ashamed to comment something that they rather DM you privately to even like the fact that you said something or to expand on it, instead of just, sharing that with your peers so that they could understand it and they could pass down that to their friends. And that's how we grow. You know what I mean? That's how the Jewish people, white people, and all the other races, how they're growing and developing and becoming business owners, because they're learning from one another and being able to grow. We have to understand that our only gift in life is not playing sports and not entertaining people and not just rapping. Once we understand that we're more than that, then we can actually start to grow as a community.
But definitely for you content creators out there, it's okay though. Like, keep creating and putting your stuff out, because even those little DMs, and like, you're still having an impact on people whether you know it or not. Like when I started back just recently to putting out videos and music again, there was people who were texting me like they would text me like, yo, I'm so glad that you started putting back out your music, man. I've been needing this. I'm like, bitch, why don't you like my shit and share it then? Like, why are you texting me this? Like you could have commented this. Like, you know how the algorithms work.
Don't support me privately.
Right.
I mean, did you like that?
All the time though.
Where you text me? But yo, that's like super important. We've been talking about that for years. Like, I really before I cared, but now as I get older, I really don't care. I'm just really trying to give you game and trying to help you, because I'm telling you, I promise you, I will reach a point in my life where everything I'm doing now will pan out and I will be successful and I will be able to pass down generational wealth for my family. And then at that point, somebody's going to ask you like, yo, what are you doing to get to where you at? And it's like, bro, Jay-Z didn't become a billionaire overnight. Jay-Z, nobody even wanted to sign Jay-Z when he started rapping. Like, people don't understand. He had to set up his own record label to get an opportunity to rap, because nobody wanted to sign Jay when he first started. You know, that 444 album that he did, when he giving us keys to building wealth, and he's giving you, I mean, oh my God, that album was amazing. That get allowed to spend like any other album that he did, you know.
But even Nipsey Hussle, like, right, when Nipsey Hussle passed away, there were so many people who started becoming Nipsey Hussle fans and stuff like that. Yeah. But nobody was supporting Nipsey Hussle from the very beginning. I'm from California, so it's a little different for me, but I had been hearing from Nipsey Hussle since I was in like high school. Like when he originally started, he put out like the Marathon Continues and stuff like that, and he was just regionally known, right? And I'm from the Bay Area, he's from LA, but he was known in California, and people were like supporting him and stuff like that. But he was really only a local legend. Like, people rocked with him on a local basis, and he did so much in his community, just having an impact. And then when he passed away, he became this renowned kind of global figure. But it's so sad that it took him passing away for people to recognize his greatness and his genius. Like, why wasn't we giving him this flowers when he was alive and supporting him in everything that he's doing? And there are thousands of other Nipsey Hussles across the nation who are doing just that right now that we don't know about. Right. And unfortunately, it's going to take some kind of tragedy for people to wake up and actually start supporting him. Like, his stuff started streaming crazy after he passed away. And I'm just like, bro, that's ridiculous that we need to die in order for some of this stuff to happen. Like we just really need a mental mind shift on what's important and how to like appreciate people and appreciate the actual leaders that we do have, because people, especially in the Black community, people are so quick to be like, oh yeah, we don't have no leaders or we don't have this. And it's like, bruh, yes, we do. There's plenty of leaders. You're just not listening to them or following them. Like, they have been laying out the blueprint from day one. They have been through the trenches. They have told you their whole life story about all the problems that they had to overcome. They have laid out the blueprint for how they got to where they are. There are plenty of leaders to choose from. We're just not gravitating towards them. We're gravitating towards the people who aren't leaders, the people who aren't leading us into anything positive. We're going towards the people who are reinforcing our negative stereotypes and our negative image about ourselves. And again, that comes back to that institutionalization and that internalized racism that we have about ourselves, right? We believe that we don't have leaders, and it's just not true. Like, even when Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X were alive, there were so many Black people who didn't like him. Like, it's not like all Black people were supporting Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X when they were alive. They dealt with the same thing. Like, there were so many people who didn't rock with them at all, but then when they passed away, all of a sudden, oh my God, they took our leaders and all this other shit. Like, bro, what were you doing when they were alive? That's why I posted that little thing on my story that said, right now is the time to show what you would have been doing in the civil rights time, right? Like, what are you doing to add to this? Right? Instead of people sitting back and complaining. Like, when I first started talking about this boycott thing, so many people were messaging me and telling me how it's not going to work. And that's why I was posting these long ass posts like, yo, do not bring your doubts to me. Bring your ideas. Do not sit here and tell me about how something's not going to work. And that's why I'm like, all of a sudden now, all y'all motherfuckers got a PhD in economics. Like, all of a sudden, you got all of these PhDs in economics, and you're sitting me telling me about how something is not going to work. Like, yo, bring your ideas, not your doubts. I don't want to hear what you doubt. If you think that it could be, I could have a different approach, or we can do it in a different way, bring that to the table. Then I'm all for ideas. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna say that I know everything. I'm not gonna say that I know exactly what we need to do and that I have the perfect solution. But I do know we have to do something. You know what I'm saying? So add to the cause. Don't sit here and be all negative about, oh, it's not going to work and this is not going to work. Like, bro, I don't need that right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody needs that right now. Join the movement. Bring your ideas, not your doubts. And I'm going to keep saying that to them.
It's like people want to do the easiest shit. Like, everybody was so quick to post a black box.
Right.
With no message. Like, you know, that's so easy. But when you actually have to take real actions and real steps, and you have to tell somebody not to buy from Gucci, which you can't even afford to be buying from Gucci. You can't afford to be buying from Louis like, it doesn't make sense. Like, we really have to start shifting, like I said earlier, the people we look up to. And we have to hold the people that's up there accountable for the message that they're passing down. Who was it that said, I think Lil Baby, he's like, he doesn't even actually sell drugs he just says that for the music.
That's a lot of artists. Even starting in the 90s, that was a lot of artists.
I'm like, what kind of message are you promoting then? You don't even do this. Why don't you take an actual, but then again, it's like what we said earlier. Nobody want to hear that shit.
Yeah, that's what sells.
Exactly, because it sells. But that's the problem. That's why hip hop is so manipulated. It's manipulated us. It's because we have been feeding a suburban white kid audience. Because there's a lot of hip hop artists who are on Black empowerment and they're supported by Black people, but they're only locally famous. Like Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle's main fan base is Black. Like, his main fan base is Black. Same thing with Master P. Master P, his main fan base was Black on the independent grind, but you don't make as much money. That's why in the music industry, it's always been considered this big thing when you cross over. Like, crossing over means you go from having just a solely Black fan base to now having a white fan base. And what comes with a white fan base is white money. So artists naturally start catering their art towards that new fan base. And I don't need, like, they either consciously do it or unconsciously do it, but they, like, when you're an artist or if you're anybody and you're speaking, you can read a room, you can read a crowd, you can read your audience. So you're going to feed them what they want to hear, right? So artists have to have kind of the discipline to say, I don't care what you want to hear. I know what my people need to hear. You know what I'm saying? And that's the message that I'm going to put out. And as consumers, we have to be in support of that. We have to say, hey, I'm going to stream that. I'm going to put money behind that. I'm going to support that because that's the message that I want to be given to to the future generations, right? Especially for those of us, we're now getting into the age where we're either thinking about having a family or already have a family. Like, the consciousness of your child is very, very important. Like, what do you want that child growing up believing? Do you want that child growing up believing that he is nothing but a nigga, that he's only ever going to be a nigga in society? Or do you want him growing up and believing that, hey, I could be a king, I could be a pharaoh, I could dominate the world, I could be the next business leader, or I could be the president, or I could do this, or I could do that. Like, you want them to see all of the avenues that they have available to them, and then for them to you know, I truly believe in God, so I would want my kid to look to God and be like, yo, show me the way. What path am I destined to be on? Because I truly believe that your intuition lets you know what you're supposed to be doing, right? Yeah. Like, for so long, I didn't rap for so long. I didn't start rapping until my junior year of college, but it was weird because even in high school, and even throughout my early years of college, it was one of those things that was always in the back of my mind. I said, yo, you know, you could do that if you wanted to, right? But I just never did it. I never did it. I don't know, out of fear or what, but I never did it. And then all of a sudden, when I started doing it, discovered that I just had natural talent for it. And then that talent turned into an obsession for sitting there writing rhymes. You know, I used to just sit there and write rhymes all the time, and I would just record 16s and people would be like, yo, you're nice, put your shit out. And I would never put it out. But even though I wasn't putting it out, I was still working on my craft. It was still something that I did all of the time. And now when people hear it, they're like, wow, you're putting together like full songs and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I've actually been putting together full songs for like 2 years now. I just never put it out. But for me, it's because I love it first and foremost. So whether or not I put it out or not, it's a part of my lifestyle. It's a part of my habits. It's just something that I do, that I know God has given me the gift to do. So I'm always going to do it, whether or not it is well received, whether or not I can live off of it. It doesn't matter because I love it first and foremost. So it's always going to be a part of me. It's just reached a point now, especially with just these tragedies and seeing how invaluable they make our life, that they could just take our life away at any point in time. It's like, yo, I can't die with this. Like, I have to at least put something out so that if anything ever did happen to me, at least I put stuff out for the world to hear it if it ever goes anywhere. And if not, so what? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing, man. We are way over our time. Want to thank Eric again for doing this podcast with us. Happy to be back with you guys.
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Any last thing you want to add or say that you didn't get a chance to say?
Man, read more. You know what I'm saying? Read more. Amilcar Cabral. Google him. You know what I'm saying? Google him. Especially for all us Africans out there, you know what I'm saying? Like, Google him, learn your revolutionaries. Like, these are your leaders. They have left behind pieces of work for you to study and to recognize how colonialism works, how imperialism works, and how you can just build yourself up and build your self-esteem so that you have the mental fortitude to go against the forces that we're going to be fighting for the rest of our life. Whether you like it or not, this is just reality. This is the society we live in. Amilcar Cabral, he's right here on the back of the screen. You know what I'm saying? Study him, learn his stuff, and start studying all of these other revolutionaries out there. You know what I'm saying? If y'all have me on the podcast again, I'll have another revolutionary we can talk about. You know what I'm saying? For sure. But thank you for having me. I love you guys. You guys are the best couple, hands down. You know what I'm saying? I'm totally in support of
you. We appreciate you coming on and your knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah, facts.
Thank you.